Now you're welcome back. Very happy to welcome to the show this evening 2 goals in a cup final, no bad things. Stephanie Roche was player of the match, 6-0 win over Cork City in the women's FAI Cup final at Tallaght Stadium. Stephanie, how you doing? Thanks for the time.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me on.
That's a pretty good weekend as they go, I would think.
Yeah, not bad, was it? It was a bit of the first half of the game was a bit of a crap game, if I'm honest, to watch, I can imagine. But second half, thankfully, we kicked into action and thankfully were able to win the game in the end.
Why was the first half a crap game, do you think?
I just think it was kind of the usual cup day nerves. I think obviously a lot of the players that were in the team, Peamount, have played in the final before and lost. So I think it was a case of we knew the strengths that Cork had, and we knew that if they got a goal early, it would have made it hard for us. So I think we were kind of a little bit cagey in terms of not wanting to concede. So we probably dropped off a little bit too much. And then I think towards the end of the first half, we started pressing and realised that's what we had to do in the second half. And in fairness, when we went in for half time, James just kind of said, look, go out and play your game. And that's what happened.
Yeah, he was saying afterwards to the media, James O'Callaghan, your manager, play the game, not the occasion, stick to the process, try take the emotion out of it, all of that. He said, though, it still doesn't work. We still came out, we were nervous. It's a cup final. I mean, there's no getting away from the fact it's a cup final. There's no getting away from the fact that you've had 2 cup final defeats in a row. You can tell yourselves all you want. That's not a factor. But like, your brain isn't stupid. Your brain knows what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was something that was said quite a lot before the game, was like, look, we've played a certain way all season and it's gone really well for us. Even we went 1-0 down against Shells, we came back and we won because we believed in how we played and how things had worked for us all season. So I think, yeah, the first half definitely was a bad first half. One to forget, I think. But as I said, coming in at half time, I think everybody kind of said the same things at half time, which is a good thing because everyone knew what went wrong, what we needed to do to go right in the second half. So I think just coming back, obviously the early goal in the second half set us up. And I think once that went in, everybody relaxed and kind of knew that our football would take control. And we've got some very good players in the team. And thankfully we were able to put that on show in the second half.
And what is Peamount's usual game?
We like to play football. Like, we try to play a combination play. I think Anya's goal, the third goal, is probably one of the best ones in terms of how we played and how we opened them up. And we've got some very hard workers in the team. I think Karen Duncan's been excellent for this year. Lucy McCartan in midfield, they're kind of the engine who kind of keep us going. But you also have players like Anya O'Gorman and Megan who came on. Alana McAvoy have been playing with all season, worked so hard. So we have kind of good mixture of players who want to do the dirty work, and also have the players who have that bit of flair as well. So we try to play as much as we can, and I think we've shown that a lot of times when we played this season.
It puts a really nice polish on the season for you. 2 goals, you set up the third as well, because I know it's been a stop-start, difficult season for you. So I suspect for you it must really just kind of change the complexion of the whole thing now as you look back on it.
Yeah, definitely. I think, look, football is a funny old game, isn't it? At times I think you can go from being the best player ever, people always talking about you, and then you're forgotten about for a long time. And for me, this season has been kind of stop-start, as you mentioned. I cracked my rib actually against Cork near the start of the season. I missed a couple of weeks and I came back actually earlier than I probably should have, but I missed a couple of weeks and that set me back. I also missed the Champions League through COVID issues. I was in close contact with somebody who had COVID. So look, it was a bit of a disappointing season in terms of not being able to be part of all that with the team, because we've got a great team spirit, a really good group. And as you mentioned yesterday, kind of finished the season off in the best way possible, because I finally had that kind of run of games going into the final. Play against Shells and Wexford, which is obviously great preparation, 2 of the better teams in the league. And obviously I was able to kind of then have that little bit more match sharpness. And even actually looking back, I watched the game back and there's parts of it that I wasn't happy with. I think, if I'm honest, I don't even think I played that well. I think obviously the goals obviously look great, and especially when they come at an important time in a game. But there's definitely parts of my game where I still need to improve. But it's given me something to build on for next season, and it's given me that kind of hope that, yeah, I can still play and I still have a little bit about me.
So when you're watching it back, what are the parts of your game that are making you, crack your knuckles in frustration?
Well, I think I should have scored a hat-trick. That's disappointing as a striker. I think I had the opportunity. The header, Megan put a great ball in. I just missed the flight of the ball completely. And another chance, I kind of went down. I won the ball off the defender, and I went with my left foot instead of my right foot. And as soon as I hit it with my left, I was like, why did I do that? It was just one of those split-second decisions that as soon as you do it, you done it wrong. But yeah, just little kind of, as I said, little moments in the game where I felt like I should have done things differently. And if I had been a different type of game and the other goals hadn't gone in, they would have been important moments that I missed. So they're the things that I want to improve on. And as I said, I think with match sharpness and definitely my fitness isn't that as high as it can be. So I think next season, hopefully I can get a good pre-season and be flying.
And I think for, goal getters in particular, like your sharpness is so important. I think, with the greatest respect to defenders or certain types of midfielders, they can, get back into the groove quickly enough and, trot around and pass their way through a game. But like, I think to score a goal, you need sharpness. You need that little bit, you need those explosive moments. You need to be quick in your brain. All of that stuff just needs, it's a little more heightened, I think, for a striker.
Yeah, definitely. I think anticipating the pass or anticipating where the ball might land, I think is important. And that's probably something for me personally that I've been good at over the years. I don't think I've ever really been a really fast player in terms of pacey or anything like that. But I think my mind reacts quicker than some people's, like on the way. So I think that's something that's worked for me over the years. And I think even if I'm honest, the last couple of seasons, I've probably started to try and focus on doing better at the other things. And in doing that, I almost forgot to do the things that I was good at, if that makes sense. So obviously you have people's opinions coming on board and people telling you what you need to improve on. And as a player, like for me, I'm professional. If somebody tells me I need to do better at something, I'm going to try and work on it. And I think for me, the last few seasons, I've kind of gone away from what I'm actually really good at. And that sometimes takes away from my game, if that makes sense. So I think yesterday, going into the final, I actually had a good chat with my dad the day before, and he said, look, you're going to have people having opinions on it, but do what you're good at because you're at your best when you're doing that. And that's something that I tried to take into the game, and thankfully it worked out.
Yeah, no, I think that's a common experience, actually. Brian O'Driscoll, it's a different sport, but obviously a lot of the same principles apply. He's talked about that a little bit to us on the show, that, you can spend so much time working on your perceived weaknesses. And as you said, the professional in you wants to make your left foot as good as your right foot and all that kind of stuff, that you can forget to be exceptional at the stuff that got you there in the first place. So, he has often kind of said to us down the years that actually it's really important as well, whatever the 2, 3, 4 things are that make you stand out, if you don't continually work on them and keep them ahead of the pack, then what are you left with?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I've been saying. I think the last few years I've been away. I've had to adjust my game in certain ways in terms of different places that I've gone to play. I played in different positions. When I was at Sunderland, I was playing left wing back, and I think anybody who's seen me play in the league before would have never thought of me playing there, because I would have always been a goal scorer. I would have always been a creative player who wants to get on the ball and get assists and get goals. And as I said, I think I kind of went away from that. And if I'm honest, I kind of stopped enjoying football because of that, because that's what I'm good at. That's what I mean, I like going to training for. I like to go playing matches because they're the things that I want to be able to show I can do. And I think definitely I did kind of step away from that by trying to do the other stuff. And I think, as you mentioned, I think Brian O'Driscoll is obviously the perfect example of someone to listen to. He's obviously a great athlete and done great in his sport, but it's something that I think affects a lot of players. And for me, definitely that's something that I think has been an issue for me over the last couple of years. So I just want to get back to, as I said, doing what I'm good at, and hopefully that'll do well.
Is your dad a fairly consistent source of advice across the last decade, 15 years?
Yeah, my dad's been there from as long as I can remember, bringing me to trials all around the country when I was younger. I'm quite fortunate in terms of the people that I have around me. Obviously, my boyfriend Dean as well is a huge influence as well. He's always giving me like pats on the back. I think the last couple of years, as I said, like I had the highs of the whole Postcards thing, and I'm playing for Ireland consistently and doing well, and then you go off and sometimes things don't work out, and you need people like that, like my dad, Dean. I have two really influential brothers. Dean's dad as well helps me out. Like I've got people who, when things are down, like it's so easy to kind of be like, oh, here, what's the point anymore? Whereas if I have those people then saying to me, no, look, you're a good player, you need to keep going, you'll get the opportunity, and persist with what you're doing, and you'll get there. So I'm really, really lucky, as I said, that I have people like that who have such a positive influence and effect on my game.
Has the Puskas thing been a bit of a weight?
It's funny because actually before our game last week in the dressing room, James has been excellent with me this year. He's been really fair. I think, as I said, I've been stop-start, but he's always kind of played me when I felt I've been doing well. So he's a manager who I think I really respect. And he said something to me in the dressing room at the start of the week, and it was like, look, do the thing simple. Like it's almost like I'm playing like I have to do something spectacular. And I think that is probably something that I do take into my game sometimes, but I think I've tried to get back to the basics and try to do, as I said, the things that I'm good at, and I think that will follow. But I do think the whole Postcards thing is that everybody expects me to be scoring overhead kicks and volleys from 40 yards every week, and that's not the reality of football. There's going to be times where you score tap-ins, and for me, they're probably the best goals because they're the ones that you're going to get more opportunities to do. So definitely, I do think there's a part of the Postcards is there kind of in the back of my mind that I need to kind of show that it wasn't a once-off as such. But yeah, definitely, I think it's something that's always going to be there. Like,
yeah, it's a tricky one. Like, obviously, I mean, I presume you're glad it happened, and like what an amazing mad experience, and you know, all the attention it brings, and it probably helps your career. But I can definitely see the weight of expectation. You know, people go watch 2, 3, 4 Stephanie Roche games and she hasn't even scored a spectacular goal. What's all this?
Yeah, like that's a question I've been asked a few times. Actually, people have said, like, do you think that it was a more of a burden, or was it good for you type of thing? But like, definitely, look, I think there's no denying that it opened up a lot of doors for me. It definitely gave me opportunities that I probably wouldn't have got if it hadn't been highlighted the way it was. But like, even just looking back on it, like, I had so much luck in terms of that goal being even shown and people seeing it. And probably the couple of years after that, I couldn't get a bit of luck. You know, everything that could have went wrong. So look, it's something that I think, as I said, I'll always be grateful for, because it did give me opportunities. But it definitely did kind of have a different effect on my career that probably wouldn't have been there had I not scored that goal.
And do you mean, like, so, you know, certain moves to certain teams happened on the back of that goal without them fully appreciating, you know, the fullness of you as a player, or injuries, or what kind of was the main issue post Puskas?
A little bit of both, I suppose. I think, look, when I was offered the opportunity to go to America, I think no player would ever turn that down. And for me, like, obviously, I always have been confident in my ability, and I know what I'm good at, and that. But look, going there, probably looking back in hindsight, probably wasn't the best move for me at the time. I probably needed to go somewhere where I was going to be playing football and going to be using what I'm good at. You know, France didn't work out. It was something that was before all of this even happened. But like, I think going to America, and in terms of how players are treated over there, like, I went over there thinking I'm going there for a year, I'm going to be there playing the full season, and my whole life was uprooted then by one decision by one person, you know, and that's kind of what I didn't know about. I was a bit naive in terms of knowing how things worked over there, and obviously kind of it didn't work out for me. I still speak to the manager over there, and he's always been very, I suppose, positive whenever he spoke about me and stuff like that. But there was decisions that had to be made, and that's kind of how it was in America. And even then, obviously, the injuries that I had too. I think I got injured in my last season in Sunderland. I had no contract after that. I was offered an opportunity to go play in Italy. At the time, Colin Bell was the manager, and it was all about, look, you have to go and play at a higher level. So I kind of jumped into that decision as well, when I probably didn't really want to go. I wanted to stay in Ireland. I wanted to try and, as I've said straight the last couple of months, like, play with a smile on my face and enjoy my football. But at the time, there was pressure to go away and to play at a higher level, and I kind of took that decision on without really wanting it, if that makes sense. So
yeah, totally,
like, little things like that have definitely kind of influenced my career in the last few years.
When you've been offered these things, it's really hard to turn them down. I can only imagine, you know, and it just sounds like you got into the rough and tumble of football, you know, professional football. It's brutal, takes on its own momentum, and suddenly for some reason you're playing left wing back for Sunderland and you don't have a contract at the end of the year. You're probably going, how the hell has this happened?
Yeah, exactly. And that's, as I said before at the start of the thing, that's football. Like, football can be so many highs, but there's also so many lows, and I think it's how you deal with it. And as I said before, I'm just quite lucky that I have really positive people around me who believe in me as much as I try to believe in myself, as much as you can doubt yourself. But having people like that around me has definitely helped kind of, as I say, keep me going and keep me pushing for the best. And
remind me, because sorry, I didn't think we'd touch on the States thing. I have a vague memory of, was it to do with the number of foreign players and somebody made a decision and you were cut? Is that the gist of what happened?
It was a strange one, because I remember talking to the manager a couple of weeks before I actually got cut, and he was saying to me, like, you've been really good in training, you're our best finisher in the team, and that's a team that had Carly Lloyd in the team. So I was kind of like, all right, Jesus, I'm onto something here, I'm doing okay. And then we had two defenders who got, I think one of the defenders done her ACL, and the other defender had a serious knee injury, I think, and he had kind of looked, he brought a couple of players in from America who didn't seem to be fitting the bill in terms of the player he needed in defence, and he ended up then having to get a foreign player in. I think there was 3 spots already taken, and I was taking one of them, and I kind of had a quad injury the week before, so I've been in and out with the kind of training sessions, and it just seemed like it was the easy option for them then to then drop me and bring in somebody else. And it's funny, because I think so many people in America were really sympathetic with me, which is not usual for America. I think they can be quite cutthroat over there. I had so many people get in touch with me, like fans of the NWSL and stuff like that, and even the girls in the team had messaged me saying, look, I can't believe it happened, but it's just the way it is over here, unfortunately, and hopefully like, you can get on and do well. But it's just the way it worked out, and it was something that, as I said, at the time, it couldn't have happened any worse, you know, because I went over there with the expectation of staying there for hopefully a couple of seasons. Dean had left Bray at the time, he came with me, and it just kind of completely upended our whole life, you know, uprooted us, and we didn't really know what was next, and that's just the way it went. And as I said, it was a disappointing time for me, but I got the opportunity then to go and play in Sunderland, which was probably my best kind of time in terms of my career. I enjoyed my time there.
Right, good. I guess there is a degree almost this season, as stop-start as it's been. You know, you sign off nicely with the cup final and you can sort of look ahead to next year, and there's a degree of stability and hopefully a bit of momentum, and you stay injury-free, and, you know, maybe you rediscover your best form on a consistent level, and who knows, Champions League maybe kicks in again. Peamount lost to Glasgow in penalties. It was a close-run thing. So, you know, it seems like the team's in a really good place. Like maybe you're kind of finding some kind of equilibrium again. So maybe 2021 looks kind of good from this vantage point.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's something that I spoke about actually after the game the other day. I think for me right now, I'm staying in Ireland. This is where I want to be. I think it's the best move for me right now, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch. I have other stuff that I need to try and arrange. I mean, I'm not getting any younger, so I need to kind of prepare my life for after football as well. And for me, like, I've played in this league. I played in the first ever Women's National League, and I've come back this year and I've played. And for me, it's all about improving the standards here in Ireland, and that's something that I'm passionate about. And look, it's not for me; it's for people who are coming through. Because as I said, I played in the original or inaugural Women's National League, and I've come back, and I don't think, look, it hasn't got any worse, but I don't think it's got any better either. And for me, that's an issue, because I think we can be happy with it being at a steady level for as long as we can. I think the media presence has definitely improved in football, but a lot of the other stuff hasn't improved. And for me, being back in the league, I want to see the standards be raised. I want to see the young players that are here. Like, if you look at Vera's bench against Germany, like, you've got Ellen Molloy, who's 16. Like, she's an excellent prospect, but realistically, she's not going to go away for another few years. So why not try and improve the league here for her, to give her a stepping stone for if she does get the chance to go away to play at a higher level. Like, players like that need that opportunity. And I think the league itself here needs to be looked at. I think we have the players in the league for it to go semi-pro. It's taken 9-10 years of the league at this level, and I think we just haven't pushed on from it. And I think other countries around the world have. I think if you look at Scotland, obviously they're linked with the men's club, so it's a little bit different in terms of I suppose the teams that they have. Like Celtic and Rangers have put money into the women's teams, but I just think, for me now, being back in Ireland, I want to try and help this league improve as best as possible. And I think, as I said, there are players here who put in some amount of work to make sure they're at a high level when they go and play in the international setup. But they also need help in terms of having maybe extra sessions. And hopefully, as I said, in a few years to come, maybe this league can be semi-professional.
Okay. I haven't heard many people talk about that, so it's good maybe to get that conversation started. And you're definitely, you can tell, very keen to drive standards. Like, I even noticed on the coverage after the Germany match on RTE TV, you know, there was lots of, you know, oh, we're improving, and, you know, that we've shown, you know, we can mix it with Germany for portions of the game and everything. And it was pretty obvious when I think Peter Collins came to you. You were like, look, had about a decade of this, you know, we're another hard luck story. Like, what are we waiting for here? You know, we need to actually start qualifying for these events. It was a golden opportunity. Ukraine away, Greece away. These are like, we can't be happy with this at all. It was obvious, you know, based on your demeanor. I thought it was good.
Yeah, and look, it's a difficult one for me, because obviously I've been around the squad.
Sure.
I've been in and out this campaign, and I was trying to say it in a way that it wasn't me coming across bitter in any means, because I think it's been a tough year for Vera and Eileen in terms of preparation for games. We haven't had international friendlies. There's been no kind of camps, training camps and stuff like that. So it wasn't a dig at anybody individually. It was more so as you say, looking at it kind of going, it almost hits a stage where it's like, oh, well, the girls gave it their best shot.
Yeah.
And it's been like that for 10 years. And that's what my point was when I look back and see some of the young players in that bench. That was me 10 years ago. And Tallaght Stadium, we lost 3-2. That result was talked about for about 4 years. That's not good enough. I think that's not, for us as a country. I think we need to be able to push forward. As I mentioned before, so many countries around Europe are improving, and I just think we have the players, we have the people around her. And I've worked with a lot of coaches. I think Eileen Gleeson and Vera, I have to say, she's done everything she can, but I think there just needs to be that step forward. And I think there are coaches there who want to help out and want to do the work. So I just think there's so much more that can be done, and I hope that can happen, because for me, I think it's just, we're happy enough to kind of keep going with there's used this quote a few times, the status quo. You know, it's like, oh, things are going well, we'll keep going with that. But there should be an element of how can we improve. And I do think, as I mentioned before, Eileen Gleeson has got she wants the league to improve. Definitely, she's been around the league before. She knows what's probably needed, and I think people like her around Ireland definitely want to try and improve the league. So hopefully that will be the starting point, and then that can then flush into the senior international team with players coming from the league here in Ireland.
Yeah. No, it sounds all very fair. Listen, in the short term though, congrats. Enjoy the medals and success, and it's a nice way to sign off the season. Stephanie Roche, as ever, thanks a million.
Thanks a million for having me, guys.